Whenever you're ready. Great. Good evening. Welcome to the Seabrook School Board on November 10th, 2020. To begin this, we'll have a roll call of the members here, only because the people at home would like to know who all the members are present. Rhonda, would you take the roll call, please?
Here.
Jennifer Hubbard.
Here.
Jessica Brown.
Here.
Kelly Huber.
Here.
And Michael Ravenel.
Here.
Have the roll call taken.
Thank you. The next portion is public comment on the agenda items. And if you'd like to speak regarding the public comment, if you go around above the railing and back around to the podium. Otherwise, but that'll be the process and procedure for the evening. If you would introduce yourself, name, address, and how you're involved with the Seabrook School, please.
There's a button down below.
It's on now. Go ahead and try it.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. My name is Andrew Wallace. I'm the president of Seacoast Education Association. So while I do not live in Seabrook, I would humbly ask for your permission to speak.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to turn the mic up a little bit because I can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear it. Can't hear you, Andrew.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Better.
Better.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks. My name is Andrew Wallace. I'm the president of Seacoast Education Association. I do not live in Seabrook, but I would humbly ask for your permission to speak tonight.
Members? Yes?
Yes.
Good? Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Andrew Wallace. I'm the president of Seacoast Education Association. Thank you for the chance to address the board tonight, and thank you for your difficult work on behalf of students in SAU 21. We recognize that everyone, our students, our communities, and the teachers and staff and administration of SAU 21 are all struggling right now, and in very different ways, I might add. During this wave of COVID-19, it's more important than ever for all of us to support and empathize with one another. Every day we see tremendous courage and care in our school community. Thank you to our students and families and our teachers and staff for your hard work and fortitude over these past few months. The hours and hours of preparation and work and grading and homework and parents helping with homework and helping with reading and helping raise children, thank you for everything that you do. We see you, we hear you, and we appreciate you. When it comes to the plans for in-person learning, SAU 21 teachers and staff who are currently teaching remotely are excited about the prospect of returning to in-person teaching. We teachers and staff have really missed connecting with our students, and we miss the magic and fun and discovery and triumphs that happen in our classroom during a normal school year. We miss our extracurricular activities and our social opportunities that our schools offer students. They positively contribute to students' lives in and outside of the classroom. Like students and families, we're looking forward to returning to in-person teaching and learning in a safe environment that is still educationally sound. As always, the health and safety of our students, their families, this community, and of course our fellow teachers, our custodial staff, our administrators, our nurses, paraprofessionals, and food service employees continue to be our top priority. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has reached record levels in New Hampshire and throughout the country in a second wave that has seen a rise in cases and closures in Seacoast schools, and unfortunately a rise in hospitalizations again. According to the numbers, our middle and high school students are more likely to contract and to spread COVID-19. Regardless of how much we want to be done with this illness, COVID is not done with us yet. In addition, the cold and flu season that is also ramping up will create additional challenges for our schools, staff, and students alike with a shortage of substitutes. So we all have to be vigilant about the safety protocols that the SAU has put in place, maintaining proper spacing, wearing masks, cleaning, limited schedules, cohorts, filling out daily screenings every day and on time. These protocols will work if followed, and if the numbers allow. On top of that, we all need to make good decisions about safety outside of school as well. Even our holiday vacation plans can be a barrier to a safe return to school because of the massive amount of exposure for our students, families, and staff to the virus when we visit friends and family to eat or to celebrate indoors. Our ability for our elementary schools to stay in person, or in the future, for our much more populated middle and high schools to transition to in-person learning, depends on our safety protocols. While this year has been incredibly challenging, it has also been so rewarding. We teachers and staff and employees who are doing our best to uphold our professional responsibilities, and our priorities throughout this has been our students. We've been putting in long hours and doing whatever is necessary to provide the best education we can. Many of us are also parents ourselves who have had to react to decisions made by surrounding school boards in the various communities where we live. This isn't easy. We want you to know it's not easy for anybody. We want you to know that we understand your concerns and frustrations, and we share your hopes and excitement for the future. We're in awe of the resilience that our schools and community have continually displayed together in facing the challenges of this school year, and we look forward to our successes together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
May I ask a question? Mr. Wallace, are you with, do you represent the teachers union?
Yes, Seacoast Education Association.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other public comment. Move on to the approval of the meeting minutes for October 13th, 2020. I'll take any discussions, changes? I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from October 13th, 2020.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Kelly?
Kelly. No further discussions, I believe? All right. Rhonda, take a roll call vote.
Abstain.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And please also vote on your PC. This is the first meeting we've had back live, and two of the members have never been up here on the stage before, so please bear with us a little bit. Our next item is the finance report.
So, in the interest of this particular time of the year, when Mr. Ferraro is out straight in terms of finance committees and putting budgets together, we've given him the night off. If you have questions on the finance report, we're happy to try to relay them to him, or if you'd like to just put them in writing to him, but he's provided you with the most recent finance report in your packet.
Does anybody have any specific questions on the finance report? I went through it. I didn't see any anomalies, and he did explain a number of these already in our previous Zoom meeting. So I believe that we're in good hands, as always, with Matt. All right. The next item, at the joint board meeting, we did not have a quorum to pass the policies. So at this time, I'm hoping that the members have reviewed the various policies as contained here. A lot of the policies that we're going to approve this evening, if so, are administration of federal grant funds, allowability, cash management, procurement, conflict of interest, inventory management, accountability, time and effort reporting, and such. And one other thing is the EFAA school lunch program meal charges, and also earning of credit. Most of these, if not all of them, are mandated. There's not really any wiggle room on the way they're worded. So we can either approve them one at a time, or I can take a motion to approve all of these at once and adopt them. Do I have a motion?
I'd make that motion because I was there for that meeting to
Okay.
approve all of them at once.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank Thank you. Any further discussions? I know we've gone through these at length. I know I have been, being on the policy committee, but Rhonda, I see the vote is up.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. The next item is recording secretary stipend.
I can speak to this, Mike, if you want.
Yes.
So one of the things that we've done fairly recently is gone through each of our school districts and found that everyone pays for the recording secretary something different. We factored out the high school because they pay $175 per meeting, but our range across districts is something like $84 to $118, if I'm remembering that accurately. You're at $98. Your budget will recommend that we move that to $125 for each meeting with beginning next year. But we're recommending to each board and each of the elementary boards, and 2 of them have already adopted a move that would take that to $125 effective November 1st, so effective with this meeting, and standardize what we pay for the recording secretary for each of our boards. So that's our request.
Given the fact that the recording secretary is a key individual, and we've had Maureen on here for years and years, and she finally decided to step down, I think that the SAU found it difficult to find someone to immediately step up for all the boards. Some of the boards, yes, all the boards, not quite. Any discussion from the board? Okay, no further discussion. We need a motion?
Please.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. I have a motion and a second. No further discussions to recommend that the recording secretary stipend be increased to $125 per meeting.
Mike?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So would this be a conflict of interest? Because I think it's my mother, right?
No.
No.
It's not?
No.
Okay,
No.
sorry. I thought it was
Nope.
all right.
This is just school board. Yeah.
Okay,
Just a regular school board.
okay.
Rhonda, would you please?
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you. Dr. Lupini, reopening plans?
Yeah, so let me say a few words before I turn this over to your principals who are going to take you through the bulk of this this evening. So a couple comments from me. So first of all, they've done great work in putting together the beginnings of a plan to take place starting with the second trimester. I want to focus in on a couple things. First of all, the survey you're going to hear them say that they have some data yet to gather. One of the reasons for that is that your district had a lower than what we saw in other district response rate to the survey. So there are some open pieces of information that they don't have yet that they need. And so they're going to describe to you a process to go about getting some of that information so that they can finalize some of these recommendations. That's first. But the second thing that I want to speak to is the days following Thanksgiving and the December break. So we surveyed people about that. We surveyed staff. We surveyed parents. We don't have a recommendation for you, although we know of a number of districts, including Dover and Spalding, that have gone remote for the period of time between Thanksgiving and mid-January. And they've done that because we have an order in place in this state that says if you travel outside of New England, you are to quarantine for 2 weeks, right? And we anticipate, so we don't have a recommendation on that because we've heard from some of the board members anecdotally that there's not support for that recommendation to do that kind of remote. And so we're not making that recommendation. I will tell you we run the risk of seeing that happen, depending on numbers, depending on what we see with families. And we could be doing that on a day-to-day basis after those holidays, depending on how the numbers work out. Now, it's true that the commissioner is telling people that teachers are essential workers and therefore are exempt from that order. He has, however, yet to produce written evidence of that. We've asked him for an advisory on this for 4 weeks, and we have yet to get it. So he could give us that advisory, and that might be the case, and then teachers would be exempt from that. But he hasn't given it to us in writing yet, although he said it quite often. So we're still waiting for the commissioner to give us an advisory on that. So no recommendation with respect to those days following the holiday. So what we've been working toward is the 7th of December, if possible. And what I've said is, at worst, what we might do right after the first of the year. So I think Stephanie's going to start and take you through where we are at the elementary school, which, as you know, has been in person. Been in person largely because we've been able to run a remote learning academy, which has taken care of those kids whose families wished for them to be educated remotely, and therefore lowered the numbers at the elementary school to numbers that we could make work. And so Stephanie's going to update you on where they are, where we saw in the survey, and where she believes the school is with respect to the second trimester. Stephanie. I see it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, so first of all, thank you for this opportunity to present our plan for the second trimester. We really do want to thank, if we can go to the next slide, we want to thank many people, and I think it's appropriate to begin with the thank yous. We've been in session for 44 days, and I think that's quite an accomplishment considering all the schools around us and the challenges that we've all faced to open the school and provide a successful model. So really just want to get into thanking all the people that have made that possible. So to our staff, they've gone above and beyond to adapt to new practices, support our students and each other, because we've all needed some pickups. And all those that are cleaning and disinfecting and providing different programming for students, still trying to meet those individual student needs. So thank you to all the staff that have just gone above and beyond. And to the administration, who continuously analyzes and adapts school practices, trying to figure out how we can best support the teachers to support the students, and working together to tweak models as we move along to just make things more finely tuned. And to the school board members for continuing to support us and allowing us to provide this in-person and remote option to families, and recognizing all the challenges that we do face in doing so and acknowledging that. And obviously to the students for adapting. We really thought that students would be coming back and having trouble regulating and getting back. They were just so pleased to be back. And whether that was in remote instruction and joining online, or if that was in person, and we really still see that joy of just being back together. Students that even in the past were kind of hard to motivate, they were gung-ho about coming in. So really kudos to everybody involved to make it possible. Go to the next slide, please. So looking at our goals, these are goals specific to our circumstances based on the pandemic, which I never thought I'd say the word pandemic so much in my life. It's still kind of weird to get used to. Basically, we are trying to maintain the protocols to ensure the health and safety of all of our students and staff and limiting the risk of COVID-19. We want to continue to provide in-person and remote learning options to students 5 days a week as much as possible. And we want to continue to provide curriculum to support the academic, social, emotional, and physical development of each student, and continue to provide not only core instruction, but interventions based on individual student needs. So just for a review, in case those aren't familiar with the details of our models or are only familiar with one, the two that we are providing is first the Remote Learning Academy, and that includes students being assigned to this Remote Learning Academy is across the SAU. And students have a homeroom teacher, and they receive their instruction remotely. Some of that is live sessions, and some is doing some work on their own in between live sessions. And the Unified Arts are offered through choice activities. They were prepared by the Northampton UA teachers, so thank you to them for helping us with the remote options for our students. And the in-person is operating from 8 to 1:30 at a somewhat, we usually went to 2:30, but we consolidated the day to allow for more flexibility with the teaching schedule. And so students are remaining in their homeroom cohorts all day, including lunch as in the classroom, and they go to recess outside and have some classes outside as well, but they stay within their group. They're not mixing with the other classrooms. And some students receive some specialized services outside of the classroom or their cohort, but that's minimized as much as possible. And unified arts instruction is delivered by our teachers via Zoom or the classroom. I have to say the unified arts staff have been amazing in doing their Zoom lessons into the classroom and in bringing the kids outside, come thick or thin. We've had, as you know, great sunny days and rainy days, and they've been optimizing, what they were able to do, and that's been great. So that is our current model. Our survey, as Dr. Lupini stated, we did not have, all the respondents to our survey, but we have been reaching out. The SAU did another round of reach out to them, and we've been doing phone calls. We've gotten to the majority of our students' parents, and as it stands right now, we have 85 students that want to remain in the Remote Learning Academy and 32 students that want to return and come to in-person instruction. In terms of the current data, so as Bill has spoken about, Dr. Lupini, sorry, we are constantly looking at the data. And I will say even from when the survey results came in and we started analyzing that, other data unfolded. In the last 2 weeks, we've had 14 students register new to our school. So besides the 32 and trying to accommodate them coming into the school, we've also had those 14. Just to kind of show, the first bullet here is about the withdrawals since the start of the school and the enrollments. So you can see we every year have kind of a transient population, and we have kind of an ebb and flow of students coming in and out, and that's been consistent this year as well. In terms of classroom capacity, following the 6-foot distancing, we are about 11 to 14 students per classroom for K through 4. The variation is based on, we look at the individual classroom. So when we're looking at capacity, obviously some of the room sizes are slightly different, or it could be where the sink and the door is located. Just the configuration of the room could make the capacity a little bit different. So we've gone room by room to really analyze that and revisited it numerous times just to see if there's different ways that we can reconfigure. So getting into the details of the requests for the transfer of students from Remote Learning Academy to in-person instruction for the second trimester, which would begin December 7th. Again, we have the 32 students, and you can see the breakdown here. In kindergarten, we had 3 requests, which we can accommodate completely at this time, and we still will have a few more spots for students if they were to enroll. And then we have our largest group of 12 students in first grade requesting transfers. We can accommodate 8, but we would require an additional classroom for 4. And we'll talk a little bit about our ideas about that when we present our model. In second grade, we have 7 that have requested transfers for second grade. We can currently accommodate 2 and be at capacity. We would require an additional classroom for 5. And third grade, we have 9. We can accommodate 2, and we would require another classroom for 7. And at fourth grade, we had 1 request, and we can accommodate that at this time. I believe that would leave us with only 1 other spot in fourth grade. So fourth grade, if you remember from our opening plans, that was our tightest grade, and we had the most students that wanted to be in fourth grade. So that continues to be something we have to closely watch, but right now the numbers are still working out. So some other data is we have limited preschool remote options. So we did have about 5 families that did not want to do in-person preschool. However, we love having preschoolers. The earlier we can get the students with us, the better. So the preschool teachers have been great about providing just a 1 session a week in between their morning and afternoon session to provide some activities and some learning for those students to kind of keep them with us and connected. So thank you to them for doing that. And of course, we have absences due to illness and travel and necessary quarantining. So we have had, any students that are symptomatic have to be out for 10 days or get a COVID test. So we've had a number of students go through that process, and we've had staff have been very great about being cautious and, taking one day if they need to kind of clarify and go to the doctor, getting tested and following all the necessary protocols. We've had some quarantining because of, distant, excuse me, distant cases that people were related to, and we've worked all those things out. So we're following those regular protocols as the guidelines from CDC and DHHS and Department of Ed. And then the impact on staffing from the other SAUs, as we've talked about many times, that landscape continues to change, and we have people come to my office and say, oh, my kid's going fully remote. Oh, no, they're back in, and, and vice versa. So we continue to have to kind of react and regroup to those elements. And then we have, again, I can't stress enough, please fill out surveys and return phone calls, because it really just hampers us from being able to have solid numbers to plan. And I know people are survey overload, email overload, but we do try to put out like a phone call to kind of flag, to look for those things that are really important for people to do. Mike, did you have something?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Could you clarify the 3 items that would require an additional classroom, not only the classroom, but also a teacher?
So yeah, actually, we'll get into that a little bit when we get into presenting the model, which is a couple of slides ahead, if you don't mind. Mike?
That's okay, thank you.
Perfect, thanks. So the next slide. So some other data is busing. So the number of students requiring busing has been increasing. I think at first some families were saying, I'm not sure about the bus, and seeing how things were going well, they added on to the bus. And I would say almost everybody who has registered since the beginning of the year have wanted transportation. So we are trying to stick with a 24 students per bus on a regular sized bus. That would be 1 per seat, except if there's siblings, they can sit in the same seat. So that's about our capacity of the busing, and Erin and I will talk a little bit about that after she presents the middle school, because of course we share buses. So in terms of health screening compliance, we again kind of aligned with the survey results. We continue to have to remind families to fill out the survey, so I can't stress it enough. That really helps if people are doing that screening process before the students walk in the door. Otherwise, we're having to call parents and confirm and take temperatures and all that, and it just slows things down and has them miss instructions. So we would like some more compliance with that. And getting into the proposal details. So Mike, this is getting to answering your question. Thank you. So in order to accommodate these approximately 16 students that want to transfer from RLA that are beyond our current capacity structure that we have in place, we are looking, we want to accommodate the in-person enrollment, and we can do both kindergarten and 4th grade with the current classroom structure, as I noted before. In terms of accommodating 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade requests, it would require additional classrooms just because of the spacing, and that gets into the staffing. So, I will just say, initially you look at the numbers and you say, we've got to go to a hybrid model. And that is what we are trying to prevent. We're trying to keep kids in 5 days a week. So this is our plan to be able to do that and avoid a hybrid model, and I'll get into a little bit why we would try to be avoiding that. So first, we're looking at the possibility of some existing core homeroom teachers providing instruction to students in their classroom, as well as those in what we're calling a satellite classroom. So we would have a second classroom that would have a teacher or an educational assistant that would be supporting the students in that classroom, but their instruction would be coming via computer from the other classroom. Now, some might say, why wouldn't the teacher just go from this room and instruct and then go over to the other room? But then they're teaching twice, and that's losing instructional time. So if they're teaching everything twice, we're only getting to half the material. So we would be having these 3 additional classrooms, have the teacher from another room teaching them, but have somebody in the room to support them, in between the actual lesson delivery. And they would be following the instructional lead of that teacher and helping with some of the, individual work and all of that. So we would be looking at the technology in those classrooms and making sure that that's adequate for this kind of model. Now, I say possibility because we are looking at the staffing. So for instance, we're looking at the numbers in the Remote Learning Academy. If we have enough in a certain grade level shifting over to our school that we could bring the teacher back with them, we're doing that. We're also looking at staffing. We have some people who have been on leave for various reasons or had certain accommodations with our previous model that we're reconsidering and shifting those accommodations to bring them back. And also leaves would be bringing them back as well. So I know when I first shared this with my staff, they're saying, we're going to be stretched even thinner, but we will actually have some more staff involved coming back. We also still have some educational assistant positions that we've been trying to hire for, so that might help to bring some more staffing into the building as well to help not only this challenge, but just in trying to support the school as a whole. And then we would look at unified arts classes, maybe more limited in offering to students due to the scheduling and space and shifting of needs, but originally when we designed our unified arts schedule, we were thinking they might be needed for the Remote Learning Academy as well, and they were not because, like I said, Northampton has helped out with that. So, we might be able to spread that a little bit, and it might be kind of a rotation of unified arts for students, but we'd still be able to provide that opportunity for everyone. And then staff spaces would need to be reorganized. So for instance, we have some people, we were trying to maximize, give people the most space, the most windows, the most, time just with themselves and not having to share. And so we might have to shuffle some spaces around. Erin and the whole admin team and I have met to really look at the space across the school and with the middle school model, what can we accommodate and move people around, but still adhere to our guidelines and our goals for those particular people in their spaces. And this plan, I can't stress enough, is based on the current matrix, the current enrollment. Anything could change, something could happen, and we could have to go remote tomorrow. As we know, we see that in the news all the time. So again, we still haven't heard back from some families. For the ones that we have a pretty good guess as to what their response would be, whether they want to stay or come back. So I feel a little bit, pretty solid in our details and our data. But if you can go, there's a consideration slide. Should be. That's okay. Great, that's it. Thank you. So please note, couldn't be bolder or bigger, but it's really, the model is being shared because it's based on, again, the data at this date. If the date changes, if the data changes, we might have to switch. We're trying to maintain a 5-day-a-week model because we think it's the best for our students, whether they're remote or in person, that consistency. If we had to go to a hybrid model, the structure that we have in maintaining everyone's teachers would be that students would have to come in, say, 2 or 3 days a week for instruction with teachers, and then be home the other 2 without a teacher, just doing self-guided work, self-paced work, and then the other students are in with that teacher. And so we just know, especially from our experience in the spring, the more our teachers are there to guide the instruction, the better. So that is why we're going with this model. Is everything ideal in it? No. Is it the best that we think we can offer at this point? Yes. And, in working with all this data, I'll be still working with my teachers on the details. We want to see if this plan could be utilized as presented, and then we would work more on the details of the spacing and seeing who we would have in those satellite classrooms and what would be those best matches and best collaborations. So that is our plan. Any questions?
Just one question here, then I'm going to go down the board. Would you briefly explain where the additional classrooms are coming from? Are they all within the elementary school?
So they would be all within the elementary school. We may be shifting. So currently we have some classrooms that, for instance, in our kindergarten and first grade, those teachers went to the Remote Learning Academy, so we had those classrooms. Currently we're utilizing them with some of our specialists, but we would be kind of reconfiguring the use of those spaces and shifting some of them over to the middle school, I've even said, hey, I can go somewhere else, somebody else can use my office. Okay. So we're just considering every space, trying to make sure people have adequate space for their work, have good spacing for the students, but we'd be looking to try to use those full classrooms back for instruction.
Thank you. Kelly, do you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that your staff has gone above and beyond, and I think that this is amazing. To even come up with a satellite classroom, to me, is brilliant. And the fact that you're accommodating both remote and person to person, I just wanted to say that you guys really, really have gone above and beyond. And thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
I think I can speak for the board in general, that we owe a great debt of gratitude to the principal, assistant principal Mark,
Definitely.
curriculum, and all the teachers, staff, cleaning, everything for maintaining this program, this matrix, and making it happen for the 44 days so far, with just, I guess, just a minor glitch, but even that is still astounding when you see what's happening elsewhere. But thank you very much.
I have a question.
Sure.
First, thank you for all your hard work and
Thanks,
your
sir.
staff's hard work keeping these kids in school. My question is, if you should have to go hybrid, do you already have a plan in place so that there wouldn't be any lapse between, in-person and hybrid?
We don't have a concrete plan. We do have, I've had the teachers create schedules for fully remote. So I think we'd be looking at, I think we want to kind of, get through this, and I think we'd be looking at, we have the remote schedules, we have the full in-person. What does that hybrid look like?
Yeah,
And so I think we would look at that just in case.
thank you.
Yeah, because especially, enrollment numbers could push.
Right.
And we've been really looking, and Dr. Lupini's been supportive of this, as is the whole SAU administrative team, looking at it grade level by grade level as well. So if there was something, if enrollment boomed in one grade level, maybe just that grade level would go hybrid or remote. We're trying to maintain, as much as possible. I mean, as soon as we got these numbers, I was like, we can keep kindergarten in. Like, that's critical. The kindergarten year being a hybrid, that would be, really tough.
Just one more question. For the kids that are remote, are we getting kids in for the services they may need?
Yes, so students who have specialized services are coming in by parents' choice if they want to. Some of them, would just prefer to be home. And we also have remote services that we're providing.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
so just hold on to that thought of transportation, though, because that's a theme
Yep.
you're going to hear as Aaron presents what we're looking at the middle level.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Good evening. I would echo the thanks that Stephanie gave to the staff, and just to please recognize all of the hard work that our staff are putting in. I've been saying all through, the last 44 days and then some, it's hard when you have kids in front of you to keep them safe and to worry and to make sure you're following all the protocols, and it's hard when you don't have kids in front of you. Our staff are struggling with not having kids, knowing that we need to get them in front of us. So this is hard no matter how we look at it. I know you can appreciate it. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the support from our families at home who are trying to help their students learn at home, who have never had to do this before. So just wanted to make sure I recognize everyone and say thanks. Our goal is to bring students into the school in a safe manner. Right now, most of our students are home learning remote every day. We do have some students in the school based on services that they might need or some other factors that allow them to be in school in some very small numbers. We are looking to get everybody back in as soon as we can. We are considering factors like space, staffing, the survey results, as well as transportation. Again, another theme you'll see throughout the night. Our survey results. Unfortunately, we only received 152 total responses. Of those responses, 116 would like to move in person, 76%, and 36 said that they would still like to remain virtual. That was about 24%. Our current enrollment right now is at 315, so as you can see, a little over half of our population did not respond to the survey, so we don't know what their wishes would be. So the proposed plan that I bring before you tonight is that one day a week we would have in-person instruction. We'd be looking to start that in January. The definitive date is yet to be determined, but my target would be January 11th, just based on the holiday and where that would fall. That's a Monday. 4 days would remain remote, so each grade level would come into the building for one day, and we'd have a separate grade level in each day. The actual schedule of that hasn't been determined, but it would look something like 5th grade would come in on Monday, 6th grade on Tuesday, 7th grade on Thursday, where our Wednesday stays a half day with meetings in the afternoon, and then 8th grade on Friday. Again, that's not set in stone yet, but that's just an example of what it might look like. Given that we know that students would choose to, or families would choose to remain virtual, we would create a group that is just virtual. So during that day, as the teachers are rotating through the schedule, they would be one of the groups that they would see, and they would continue to get instruction even on the days that the rest of the students are in person. So the plan would be that there isn't a loss of instruction, even if you're choosing to stay remote and be at home, which I know is often one of the concerns of a hybrid model, is that there's potentially some loss of instruction. We're hoping to avoid that. The safety factors would be that students would remain in one classroom, and the staff would rotate around. That would allow us to keep cohorts together and not have any mixing in the hallways or any mixing of cohorts. The daily screener would need to be done before students could enter the building. These are obviously same safety factors that the elementary school has been utilizing since the beginning. Masks would be worn indoors within 6 feet of anyone outdoors. So we would be providing mask breaks, and if they cannot be more than 6 feet apart, they would keep their masks on. Lunches would be provided in the classroom. That whole model has been working very well at the elementary school, so we would be following along with those safety precautions. So we do, unfortunately, I bring before you, I think, a bigger list of needs than my plan, and really that is because of needing more information from families. So what we would be doing going forward, provided I get the go-ahead to do so, would be to survey about transportation, because we would need to know how many of our students coming in would require busing, or how many families would choose to drive their kids themselves. We may have more students dropped off than we had before, because families might feel more comfortable just dropping off in their own car, and that would be fine. We just would need to know the exact number. We would be making calls to families who didn't answer the survey to find out what their preference is, both with transportation and with would they like in-person learning or would they like to continue virtual. I'll be working with my leadership team to come up with a schedule for what those in-person days look like. Right now, we are running on an A day and a B day schedule, which means the students only have 3 classes each day. We created longer blocks with fewer classes each day, because in remote learning in the spring, we knew that having every subject every day was overwhelming for students. In person, they would see every teacher that in one day. So we'd have smaller classes, and we'd have a schedule set just for that one day. And then we'd be looking to revise our class list so that, as I mentioned earlier, the students who choose to stay remote would be in their own cohort, and we would do that sooner than later so that there wasn't a disruption. I'd be looking at, once trimester 2 starts, that reshuffling happens, so kids are in their cohorts for January when we come back to school and can start some in-person learning. So this is when we get into transportation. As Stephanie mentioned, we share the buses with the elementary school, and when life is normal, they all ride the bus together, and we know, based on Stephanie's current ridership and where her buses are at, she has a few spaces remaining, but also has some additional students coming in that may take up those spaces. Either way, the numbers do not add up that I could add even a grade level of middle school students onto the elementary run. So what the middle school would be looking for would be 3 to 4 buses to accommodate about 80 students if they were all in and they all required the bus. So that's the maximum number that we would have on the bus. It would, I'm quite sure, be fewer than that. And once we do the survey, we'll have a better idea of how many students want to take the bus. We would want a schedule that was different than the elementary schedule for this reason. So we'd be looking at a middle school schedule that's staggered. Elementary comes in 8 to 1:30. I'd be looking at middle school coming in 9 to 2:30, so that the buses, because even if we had different buses, it's the same drivers. So we know we would need to have a different schedule. we feel that it would also keep elementary and middle school cohorts separate. I think mixing them at this point would not be advisable. And currently, the middle school is using 2 additional buses to get the students that are coming in. So we are already using 2, and we're really, I think, going to be able to run 3, but maybe 4. And we talked about maybe we would need to shift the bus that goes to the rec department from the elementary school to do a middle school run. After we created this slide, we did hear from the bus company, and we do think that we're going to be able to make it work within the contract and run a double run, so that there are drivers that will be able to do the elementary run and then the middle school run. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that the way that we're considering doing our schedule, the transportation isn't going to be a barrier or a challenge. I think we're going to be okay. And what we also wanted to consider, we don't want to be looking at requiring additional funds. That's what we're trying to avoid.
I was going to say, let me be Mr. Farrar tonight and say at no, so the exploration you've done is within budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
Stephanie, did I miss anything in there?
No, I think basically found out from the bus company that their run taking them 2 hours and
2 1/4, right.
is their workload, so we knew that the run within that time frame.
And we
Erin,
think
could
those runs will fall there within that.
Could you repeat what Stephanie said, because the
Oh.
audience?
Yes, so the part of the bus company getting back to us and saying they think it can work is that they're contracted that their runs need to be within 2 1/4 hours. So we feel confident that they can do the elementary run and a middle school run within that time frame without it needing to go outside of the contractor, task them with more or cause the budgetary issue that we know that we need to avoid.
Good, thank you. Will you take questions from the board?
Absolutely.
Who'd like to start?
So I just have a question. So your estimation of students returning each day is 80?
That's the average class size we have in the middle school. So it wouldn't be 80. 80 would be the maximum if everyone said I'm coming back. Our preliminary data shows us that not everybody will want to come back, that we'll have, potentially 10 students per grade level that say they don't want to come back.
Okay. But what you're saying, right, but what I'm trying to get to is that according to up there, you're estimating that we have 226 kids in the elementary on a daily basis?
On the buses.
Right, so that means they're in the elementary.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not understanding why we can have 226 students in the elementary school face-to-face, but the middle school is only looking at having 80 face-to-face. Why are we not bringing back more kids in the middle school if the elementary can handle 226?
Well, we have spacing concerns where we have within the grade levels. So we have to consider the space and where I can put them into classrooms. And in order to bring them back, I need to use additional classrooms from other grade levels to keep them in a small enough cohort, because I can only put 11 or 12 students in a class. My kids are a lot bigger, so the amount of students I can place in a classroom is less. So in order to meet the 6-foot guideline, I need to keep them into at least 6 groups. They're in 6 different groups right now. I need to keep them in those 6 groups. I don't have 6 classrooms per grade level. So to start, that's why we're doing one day per grade level, and we would need to utilize other classrooms to make that happen. The ultimate goal for me would then be to see, after hopefully not too long a period of time, this is working well, how do we add in another day? So the plan is to continue to get back to getting them in more full time, but I firmly believe we need to go slow so that we can make sure we're doing it right and we don't have some kind of an outbreak that sends everybody back remote. So we're just trying to do it slowly and safely.
That would be my next question. Are you all set for a
No.
second? No. Go ahead.
No, because, all right, so I'm trying to understand. So you're saying that you need 6 classrooms?
Right.
Okay, so we don't have 6 classrooms in the middle school?
Not for every grade to be there at once, no.
Do we have 6 teachers?
In January, I'll have teachers in those classrooms, yes.
So we have enough teachers for how many students?
Per grade level?
Yeah.
I have approximately 80. But again, I don't know who's coming. I don't have firm numbers of who's coming back and who's not based on our plan. And I don't know if some people that, in the original survey that went out, people said, I don't have an interest in my student coming back. But when they find out to start, it's just one day. More people may say, I'm okay with one day, and then the rest will be remote. So those are the answers that we don't have. And my plan is that I'll have those answers by the December board meeting so that I can give you the firm plan to start in January.
I guess my only concern is that we need to start thinking about the students and say, okay, this is what the school is needing to do. And unfortunately, start telling the teachers, this is what I need from teachers to accommodate my needs for the students. Not so much telling the parents, you know, this is what the teachers can do to accommodate the students. Because the Seabrook, the elementary school has been face-to-face for, what, 44 days? The middle school has not.
Right.
And I think it's kind of discouraging for parents who have been struggling to hear now, we're looking at 1 day a week. I mean, I appreciate, you know, the effort, but that to me is like very disappointing. And I'm not taking out on you personally. I'm just saying that to me, I thought that honestly, they would be going back.
Well, and I think, you know, and I hear your disappointment, and I completely agree. I think we all have the same goal, that we want students back in person. But at the end of the day, I can bring kids into classrooms safely with masks 6 feet apart. 12 kids in a classroom, when they typically in a regular school day, they're in 4 groups, doesn't work. So in order to make it work and in order to spread it out to 6, I can't run a regular school day to put the right amount of kids in a classroom safely without violating that 6-foot rule. So it does. So it's not just about having staff back in January. You know, that's going to be, that will work. However, I still have spacing issues that I have to consider before I can bring everybody back in.
So why are we looking at January 11th?
Because that's when I'll have the adequate space and staffing to allow those kids to come back in.
Go ahead, Jen.
So when you said that you'd have 1 class in per day, is it possible to get, 1 grade, is it possible to get 2 grades in on the same day? So then they're going at least 2 days in school and then the other
So as
remote for now?
if one grade level per day works well, then yes, but again, that will also depend on busing. So, you know, I think,
I'm sure
like
if it was the parents' choice, you know, my kid back in school or drive them to school, then I'm going to drive them to school so they can get there, forget the bus, you know.
Can I just, Aaron?
Personal.
That may be, but in every survey that we've done that has had a transportation question in Seabrook, we've received a higher number of responses of need for transportation than in any of our other districts. Now, it could very well be, as Aaron has said about a couple of other things, that as she's able to roll out more pieces of what this plan will look like, could look like, that people say, hey, if it accomplishes that,
Right.
I'm in.
Yeah, like,
Right?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, I think
And
the
I have-
frustration is that we've been told so many times that we'll look at this in the future, and 44 days later, nothing's been looked
Now,
at,
that's not fair.
and nothing's changed. It's true.
That's not fair. We've said,
True. 44 days later, and they're not in.
we've said that we, for quite some time now, that we would be looking at this for second trimester, and that's what you're sitting here tonight hearing.
And that if we could get a bunch of groups in, we would. And I don't know of anybody that has come to me and said that their child has gone
She
in.
just explained to you that there are groups of kids who are in every day. Now, they're not the groups that we originally, as many as we originally intended to do,
Right.
that we wanted to do, but there are groups of kids who are in this school building every day, to Jessica's question about needs for services, those kinds of things, every day.
How about regular ed? Are there any regular ed coming in?
Yes. Yep. Based on, again, individual needs,
I'm
whether
getting
it be.
a no and I'm getting a yes.
Yes, we have regular ed students in school.
You would know.
Outside of special ed.
One of the major things,
After they'll be, I think,
After.
open. Yeah.
one of the major things I see as a handicap or obstacle is the fact that the parents are not responding to the surveys. It says 75-25. Well, if you plan for 75%, only 50% wants to come in, then you've got a problem. If more than that wants to come in, because the numbers could skew it quite a ways, there's a lot of variables here that have to be looked at on a real basis, because the day that you open that door, you have no idea how many people are coming through it that want to be in person at this point, right? Same
That's
with
correct.
any other survey.
I have
So-
a question with the survey. If is there is it legal to put a deadline? If you do not answer this survey, then you stay remote.
You can
If
put
you
right
don't,
on
if
the
you don't
right on
answer
it.
and commit one way or the other, is it legal to cut that off?
I think Dr. Lupini can answer
Well,
that.
that's what I'm asking.
Put it on there.
Thank you so much, Mike. Yes, we've said that with other surveys and then tried to follow up by phone. I mean, we've really tried to accommodate
Right.
on all these surveys to reach out to people. Yes, there are a couple, I mean, I'm thinking of the commitment to the Remote Learning Academy, where we said if we don't hear from you by this date, you're in. We had people come after and say, I want it in person, and we had to say, we had to have those numbers and move, right?
Yeah.
We had to be able to do. So we've actually done some of that.
So that is a possibility, that you
Yes.
can cut.
Yes, these numbers
data.
these response rates are very low, though. They've based some real assumptions on some
How
very
long has
low
this survey
response
been
rates.
out?
Pardon?
How long has the survey been out?
It was out as long as any of our other surveys, I think almost 2 weeks.
Right, so, I mean, if people still don't respond or you don't get a huge response, are you still looking at maybe opening the door to more? Or for the numbers that you have right now, this is all you can do?
We're not going off the numbers we have right now. We're going to have to call every
Right.
family that
No,
hasn't
I get
responded to the
that.
survey to find out what their wish is.
But it looks like you've already done some of that and you're still not getting feedback. So
We
that's
haven't
why I
made
guess,
calls. The
I
middle
feel
school-
bad for you guys having to fish and go out there. That's why I'm wondering, is there a date where you say, all right, this is it, you haven't responded, you stay where you are, and the people that want to come back are coming back? I mean, because it's not fair to the kids that want to be back,
Right.
you know? I mean, there's got to be some sort of cutoff. But I wasn't sure if you could legally do that.
You can do that.
Okay, thank you.
You do that as a vote for the board?
Pardon? No, we don't need that to do that. We can spell it out that that's, right. And as I said, we've done that on a couple of surveys.
This board feels that's a fair assumption or objective is to limit or have a deadline for the parents to respond, and that way our administration get a better handle on how many will be coming back at that first day of class, and then we can definitely say that we're going back.
Well, I think
Is
it would be
that
nice
fair?
before our next board meeting if you had an answer to, yes, you know, this is what we got for a response, so you know what, we can do this now, where we
Mhm.
couldn't before. So I
Right.
think it would be great if, you know,
Right.
before our December, because then you're looking at January.
Right.
So it'd be great if, you know, at our next board meeting, we could have that answer and some
Mhm.
clarity.
And I'm working on the assumption that through phone calls, we'll have an answer
Yeah.
from everybody. Certainly, you know, Stephanie indicated that sometimes even with phone calls, hard to get a hold of families.
Absolutely.
But certainly, that would be my plan, that by just those phone calls will happen in advance of the December board meeting so that you will have firm numbers of what that looks like.
Right, but if
And if we
the
can add
numbers
to
is-
it, I'm
Right,
all
that's
for
what
it.
I'm hoping, that if you feel you can add to it, that if you could bring that forward to our next meeting as well,
I
once you
would-
do have some solid numbers.
I would be happy to explore that. I
Because obviously
certainly
that's
would
our
like them all
goal, is
in
to get
every
them,
day.
everybody
Absolutely.
in, is, you know.
I also, you know, I think because we've been remote and because we are dealing with numbers increasing and not knowing where we're going to be in January, you know, I want to be
Yeah.
cautious about it. I don't
No, I
want to
get
go
that,
full
but
bore and
I-
have there be some outbreak that we then are
I
sending
get that, but I
everyone.
think that, I mean, from the way I look at things, and I've also read up, I mean, school's probably one of your safest places. It's a contained environment, you know, where you're forced to wear a mask, you're forced to social distance. I mean, it's a pretty safe place to be.
Karen, I have a quick question. Would it assist you in your survey if this board makes a recommendation and a date that the survey will end regardless? And if that family, that person is not responding, then they will be remaining remote if that's the case. Otherwise, we go with the recommendations based on those surveyed people. Would that help you out at all?
If that's
I mean, it's going to set a
an
deadline.
okay thing
or-
to do, sure. I can get the next survey out by the end of this week. And I think 2 weeks, like Dr. Lupini said, has been our typical. So that, I think, brings us to the Thanksgiving holiday. So if I have all of my surveys done by that Friday, we can spend that week before the next board meeting making, you know, putting the numbers together and seeing what we have.
Okay, so as a board, would we like to pass a recommendation that a definite deadline is set, and based on that, the students will be assigned per the survey
Yes.
response?
Yes,
Definitely.
please.
Okay, I'll take a motion for that recommendation.
What date are you comfortable with, Aaron?
This Friday puts us at,
This Friday is the 12th.
so it'll be the 29th. If I have the survey out to them by Friday, this Friday, that the 29th is 2 weeks.
I'll make that motion that if parents have not responded to the survey by November 29th, we
Can we
will
make it
move
2 weeks
forward.
after the start of the survey, just in case we have a glitch in the date?
That's 2 weeks
That
after
is.
this Friday. That's 2 weeks from this Friday, which gives me till this Friday, right? Am I,
The 27th.
27th,
Oh, we're
excuse me.
27th, right.
Okay.
sorry, I'm trying to do a calendar.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah.
working well.
I will cut
Okay.
Can't catch you on the fly. Yeah. So I'll make
Okay.
the motion for the 27th, Friday the 27th
Okay,
of November. If surveys are not in, by then, we move forward with our plans, so whether you're in person or remote. What's that? Yes.
Yes.
and those that have responded will be accommodated as in-person
Yes,
for our plan?
If that's what they choose.
If
yeah.
that's what they chose,
As
yes.
remote, if they don't respond. Is that what you're saying?
No.
If they don't respond, then they stay remote.
With those that
Yep.
respond, yes, correct?
If they, what I hear, I just want to make sure I
Okay,
clarify,
good.
because I hear two
Yeah,
different things.
yeah.
If they don't respond to the survey, they will remain
Got
with
it.
the remote
Yes.
group.
Right.
Correct.
Correct, okay.
If they do not respond to the survey by the 27th, you remain remote.
And those that respond, that they
Will be
want to
in-
remain remote, will remain remote.
Absolutely.
Correct, okay.
Yes.
And I expect that we will have families that are more comfortable with that, and that's fine.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
I have a first motion and a second for the recommendation. Rhonda, would you like to take a vote, please? Second was,
I'll second that.
okay, Kelly.
We're just making it up as we go.
Yes.
27th.
Yeah, in-person instruction. Correct.
Correct, thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
All set?
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for all
Aaron.
your hard work.
Yes, it was great. Okay. I'm going to go through, personnel thing is retirement, is a retirement, and I would suggest we not go to non-public for that. But I will go through the next meeting dates for Seabrook.
But you have to accept it, though, if you would accept it.
Well, we gotta go
If you're willing to
accept
do
it
that
in the
tonight
open,
without.
right, right.
So we have a date in the collective bargaining agreement that people have to submit their retirement by in order to qualify for certain incentives that are in that requirement. You have a retirement letter from Aaron, one of your teachers, I believe, tonight, and we would ask that you accept that so that that person is qualified for that incentive.
Any discussions at all? You all have the letter up?
Yep.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept that.
A second,
Okay.
with regret.
I have a motion and a second to accept the retirement dated October 29, 2020 for this particular teacher.
Please.
Yes. Sorry.
I just I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to the fact that she's finishing her 35th year with Seabrook, and that's a big deal. So Candace Regan, we really appreciate all that she's given to the Seabrook community, and it's certainly a loss and will be hard to replace, and we are grateful for all of her years in service to the Seabrook schools.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, definitely.
34 years as an educator is quite an accomplishment in itself, so kudos to the individual. I have a acceptance and a second we have a vote, please?
Yes, with regret.
Yes.
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 Yes, with regrets. Thank you. All right, let's go through the next meeting dates. For Seabrook School Board budget review is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 at 4:30. Will be in the auditorium here. Hmm? Oh, so, I'm sorry, it's by Zoom. That's right, I forgot about that one. And the following one is December 8th, Tuesday at 4:30 p.m., which is going to be,
We believe they'll be in person.
we believe they'll be in person. How's that? At this point in time, we're testing the waters, and we have 2 back-to-back board meetings this evening.
You certainly can. It's not required, nor is it on the agenda, but you certainly can.
Okay, we're at 5:30 to get out.
Yeah, you have about 20 minutes till we need to vacate the room.
Okay. Because we have to vacate the room at 6 o'clock, I'm going to open public comment on the plans that were just proposed by Aaron and Stephanie. And if you'd like to speak, please up around the railing and approach the podium and introduce yourself, please, or take the shortcut if you're the only one. Mike.
Hello, my name is Michael Chase. I live at 71 Centennial Street. Most of you guys know I was on the school board before. A little bit upset. We've had a lot of different inside SEU, different schools doing different programs. I don't understand why our middle-aged kids are not in school. I really don't. I understand that not everybody wants to go back. Okay, that's a parent's prerogative to let them go if they want to go remote learning or whatever. It's fine. I don't understand 1 day a week. I personally won't send my kid for 1 day. It doesn't make sense. The 1 day to have a kid sit in a classroom, get his instructions for all the little classes he's got to do, then send him home for another 4 days to go remote, why bother? With that being said, there's some things that probably should happen and probably should be re-looked at, okay? I know that we have a lot of classes in our classrooms. Every grade has 4 to 5 rooms per grade. So one group coming in to take all that classroom doesn't make sense to me. Not all the kids are going to come back. Not all the kids are going to come back because they want to stay remote learning, or they have issues and their parents won't let them come back. I personally want my kid in the school doing what he does. We have a lot of kids that are missing out on some of the factors, not education, social emotional, working with friendships, building those relationships with other kids. My kid sits in front of a computer. He's an only child. I don't have anybody else, so I have one. He sits in front of his computer for your whole school day. He gets done, then he goes on his Xbox and does whatever for the rest of the day. What education, what benefit social emotional does that help for my kid? It doesn't. I have other kids that are in the school district who are recluse, who don't have a lot of, can't just step out and be friends with everybody, okay? Those kids there are really getting hurt because the emotional part that we teach in our schools of friendship and, leadership and working together and seeing different kids, it ain't happening. Hasn't happened 45 days, 44 days from the beginning. The other thing is sports. High school's opened up sports. No kids are in the class. We still have no sports. We haven't even started talking or thinking about that yet. Basketball is right around the season. Those are small groups of kids, 10, 11, 12 per a group. They can do it. They can play basketball. It's already been proven. They can play football, they can play basketball. I don't understand. Volleyball, go right down the list of it. Track and field. Doesn't make sense. I don't understand why we're not doing our stuff for our kids. Our kids are what we're here for, okay? It's the reason why you guys, school board members, are here to help promote our kids and get their education done. There's a lot there, okay? I've been in your chairs. I understand it's a lot of hard decisions. We got to do something. We can't just sit back on our heels. We just can't accept everything. I understand not everybody can come into the classroom every day. I understand that we don't have the space. But you got to have to do something. Other districts have full in, K through 9 are all in-house. We're not. Why? Is it because our number? We know that our number doesn't work because we have remote and we're fully remote, and we have kids that don't want to come back to our class. Okay, bring the kids back into class. The ones that want in-person training or in-person teaching, bring them back. We can figure it out. It's a school. We can have, manipulate the classrooms, manipulate the schedules, however we got to do it. But some serious more thought has to be brought in to bring more kids into our class, get them back in there so they have a social emotional piece that they may not get inside their homes. In our sports, our kids are getting lazy. The kids are not doing anything. The ones that are out having, riding their bikes and playing basketball. My kid sits in a basketball hoop and just shoots all day, okay, when he's not in class. It doesn't make sense. He has no teammanship. He has no, other than that we go see our friends, that's about it. But the regular stuff doesn't make sense to me. We have to step up as school board and drive this bus because that's what you guys get paid to do. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, can I speak to the second part?
Yes, Dr. Lupini would like to speak.
Yeah, Mike, thank you for that. Let me say about the sports, because I'm not going to go into what Aaron's talked about here. So we are working on that. We've been engaging. What happened in the fall, quite frankly, is that all the schools around us, the southeastern part of the state, all decided not to have middle-level sports. So quite frankly, when we went to look at it, there was nobody left to play in anything. So we've been doing that same gauging with respect to the winter, and quite frankly, we just don't have answers yet for many of them. So we just now got guidance on high school sports, on NHIAA sports, and as you can imagine, given that those are indoors, those guidance documents are much more difficult to pull off. Wrestling, ice hockey, these are going to be very difficult sports if we're able to do them at all. What I gauged even as recently as last Thursday was the southeastern group, southeastern part of the state, and whether they were operating middle-level sports. Our decisions will be contingent on whether we have people to play, because we know we can take those NHIAA guidelines and put them in place at the middle level as well. And so I hope to know that in the next couple of weeks.
How you doing? I'm Nate Chatney. I live in 15 Rocks Road. I just have a comment and a question. Are we not going back full remote because there isn't enough teachers to go back?
Not in the plan that the principals put forward. No, that's not the reason.
Aren't they considered essential?
Pardon?
Are they considered essential employees?
Well, as you heard me at the beginning of this, that's an interesting question. So what we know is that through December 31st, there's one piece of law that has to do with Families First Coronavirus Act that allowed people to take leave to stay with their children. So there are a number of people who could have exercised those leaves up through December 31st. That program ends on December 31st. So after December 31st, everyone in any model that we put in place that requires in-person would have to report to work.
So to clarify, you're telling me that all the teachers that have elected to stay out because of the COVID have to come back starting January?
So that would be an overgeneralization because there's more laws than just the FFCRA. If they're out on Americans with Disabilities Act because they have an underlying health condition, no. That is an ongoing law. But FFCRA particular, and we've been pretty open about this, where the majority of our teachers who are out on some kind of leave, it isn't 5 days a week necessarily either, some of it's less than, that act ends on December 31st.
Okay. And the reason why I ask is I'm an essential employee. I've had to work through this whole pandemic, and I just can't understand the concept of letting the teachers guide how the students are going to go back to school. I mean, these are young kids. They need the guidance. They're depressed. They're home alone. In some cases, they need the friends, the support. And what I don't think anyone understands is, on the weekends, they're out having fun with their friends. They're going here, they're going there, they're doing this, they're doing that. So to say that they can't go back to school because they might contract COVID at school, that's probably one of the safest places you can be, like you said. They're wearing masks. On the weekends, they're not wearing masks. So my issue is the 1 day a week, that's ludicrous. Why even open up the schools at that point? But we got to make it about the kids. Stop making it about the teachers. If the teachers don't want to teach, find other teachers to teach, because these kids have to go back to school. It's not an option, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Bill, do we know if they're going to actually extend this, that expires in December? Is there a chance they could extend that leave?
I'm sorry.
The leave that we were talking about that expires in December?
FFCRA leave?
Yeah, is that going to be extended possibly after December, or is that questionable?
So we have no indication that it will be extended. We've heard no information that would lead us to believe that leave, the possibility of that leave would be extended.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janessa Carrillo. I live at 60 Adams Ave, Seabrook, and I have an 8th grader at Seabrook Middle School. I just wanted to thank Nate and Mike for talking. I believe that we're all in the same boat, and I know that there's staffing issues. I know that there's space issues, but I feel like we need to get to the core of learning. Like, we could take away unified arts. We need to really think about, like, what is more important in education. We can free up the gym, we can free up the library, we can free up, the art classrooms. I just, like Mike was saying, the children are depressed. They don't have any social aspect. They have nothing to look forward to. This is really, not only is it about education, but it's also about the mental health. And I feel that 1 day per week isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And like Nate said, let's take in substitute teachers if the teachers don't want to teach. I just feel like I keep hearing, we need to come up with a plan, we need to come up with a plan. The middle schoolers have not been in school for 7 months. When is the plan going to be concluded? Epping, all the schools in Epping are back to school. Seabrook Middle School is not in for 1 day. We need answers. Everyone has said the same thing. You listen to the school board meeting from Winnicott High School, Kelly Parrott, Pam Chase. We're all in the same boat together. We're not getting answers. This isn't about the children. It needs to be about the children. Enough is enough. You heard from high school students, Hayes and Colby, that they reiterate mental health, mental health. We have children in our schools that are attempting suicide. We have sexual behavior. We have drug abuse. Enough is enough.
I mean, the only comment I would offer is that every one of our boards where we have a school, and we have more school, other than a district like Epping, where the entire district is back, but we have 5 individual districts that make decisions on their own as 5 individual districts. But there are a number of those schools that are back in session, nearly 100%. They are there because we have at the elementary level a remote learning academy. That's the only thing that's allowed Seabrook Elementary and others to bring the kids back in that way. We do not have that kind of an SAU-wide setup for kids who are remote at that level. But every one of our boards this month, starting with Northampton and Northampton, who was not in person at the middle level, this meeting tonight, Winnicott next week, we'll hear a plan that's designed to start to bring kids back to school. So
I understand that, but 1 day isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And I'm speaking on behalf of all the middle school parents. parent. There's not a lot of people here, which it saddens me because I know that everybody feels the same way. So I'm really passionate about it because all the children that come into my home say that they miss school, that their grades are failing. Some of these kids are straight A students and they're failing. I just can't sit back and I just can't watch this go on anymore, and I need to voice my opinion. And I hope that everyone's listening, and we need to come up with solutions, not keep saying, oh, well, we need to come up with a plan. Solutions is what we need. And I don't hear that. It's been 7 months. 7 months these kids haven't been in school. Think about it. I have children here with me tonight because they want to go back to school. They're not learning. They sit in front of a screen for hours. It's not the same. Please hear me out.
I hear you, Janessa.
This breaks my
and
heart,
Thank you
'cause
for
I'm a
coming
mother and
here and voicing your concerns.
You know, and I heard a parent at the WHS meeting, and she cried. And I listened to all the seniors talk, and it really touched my heart because we all feel the same way. And I know that we're in a state of pandemic. I understand that. But I feel like that there's just more that can be done. One day isn't good enough. Like, there's just more that can be done. You know, there are volunteers that would volunteer to help, put up plexiglass, if that's the case, to keep everybody safe. You know, people will volunteer. You know, like Nate said, parents would, I believe, transport their children just because they want to get them back in school. Like, I understand that transportation, there's a question about that. But I feel like at this point, parents will drive their children to school. Parents will elect to have the core classes and not unified arts. Let's start with, these are just small steps to make things come to a conclusion and a solution. They don't need to have 10 classes. They need to have main classes. They need to have socialism.
I'll speak for the board, or I'll speak for myself, not just for the board, but we recognize that the children, the most important thing is the social aspect of being in school, of interacting, and this is totally lost with the remote learning. And we've been to school. We've been through that socialized time frame. And there's more than just the students. You've got the teachers who've been career teachers for a number of years. They want to be back in school. We just can't rush full speed ahead. We really, if you really want an effort, get those parents to respond to the survey so we can do some planning. You can't plan on a
But
on
you
a
already
napkin.
know that 75% want to come back. You already have a number. It's just that may fluctuate. So you
Right.
already have to accommodate 75%.
Right, but if we only accommodate that, quote, 75%, it's a very small number probably that would want to show up at the door. And we want to be able to accommodate everybody. And that's what Aaron is, that's why
And
they're
I
putting out survey.
understand that. But
Right.
you already have a number. That it's only going to increase.
Well-
COVID is going to be here forever. COVID isn't going away. So instead of saying we need to come up with a plan, we need to come up with a solution. This is not going away. We know that the numbers are going to increase nationwide in the wintertime. We already know that.
Right.
So let's take the facts and let's do something about it. I just don't see that there's been an actual solution. And I feel like all the parents feel the same way. And it's hard for, I'm a single mom. It's hard for me to see the children that have been in my life for a long time go down a horrible, horrible path because they have too much time on their hands. They are depressed. They have nothing to look forward to. And it's like a downward spiral. Like, you're watching these kids do things that they shouldn't be doing. You hear that vaping is widespread now. Sexual activity, grades, kids are failing.
Well, this isn't the norm. Go ahead.
Sorry, is it okay if I respond to some of this? First of all, I want to say thank you for you guys who have had the guts to get up here and really vocalize some of the very honest and true stressors that our kids are dealing with. I feel like wearing the Seabrook Adventure Zone face mask kind of mandates me from saying something in this regard. And I've got to point out something here. At the beginning of the school year, I was very much team enriched virtual learning. I think that was important. Our numbers were there. We needed to maintain the safety. Totally get it, 100%. But having our students, in SAS this year and being outdoors at Veterans and doing off-campus and really getting a chance to see the needs that are coming up from these students, I can 100% attest that I have students that I would look at from last year and never think that they would be in a mental place where they are this year. And I know some of you guys, we see that, and it's almost, I could just start crying right now with some of the immense emotional needs that these kids are demonstrating. And you're 100% right. They have not been able to see their friends in 6 or 7 months. And it's not about whether remote learning is working. It's not about whether they're getting their grades, and not for me anyways. For me, it's where are these kids right now mentally? Where are they socially? Where is their social emotional needs being met? So I agree with you. I definitely do not think, I want to commend the SMS and administration, Aaron, for putting a lot of work into coming up with a very difficult plan. But I'm gonna have to agree on this. I don't think 1 day a week is enough. And I think that if we were to look at the survey responses that come in, and we can get it, and we've done the work to get a date, so they've got to have those answers in. Look at those numbers, because if I look at a max number of 80 kids per grade, and I know that we've got, 4 times 16 classrooms, we could easily get at least 2 grades into the building 2 days each week. And that would just be a minimum. That's what I would look at right there. So I think that we need to start balancing what our kids' social, emotional, and mental health needs are with and stretch the limits to what we can do safely. Because if we can do that safely, and I'm doing the math right in my head, then we should start with that. We need to get these kids into some environment where they can start seeing people and talk to people. I go back to Seabrook Adventure Zone. I wouldn't have the ability to change my reasoning unless I was working with these kids, and I can see it every single day. Our staff see it. We see the need. All right, and and just to point that out, when you do talk about kids who are depressed and that's real. That's a real thing. These are not statistical numbers. These are not things that we're looking at on a website. And I can see how it would sometimes be like that. But coming from someone who's been working with these kids face to face, who is listening to the things that are going on in their lives, the immense pressure and stress that our families are dealing with right now, we've got to find a balance. We really need to find a balance. So I am on the same page with very much, and I'm sure our board is as well. We're all trying to do the best.
And I agree.
That we can.
And I totally agree.
We need to really get our kids in here. And if we can get a couple classes a couple of days a week, we have the capacity for that. We should do what we can do at the maximum amount we can do it, as long as that's being safe. We shouldn't be wasting any more time.
I agree with Forrest. It kind of scares me to think that, there's children out there that their only escape was school.
Definitely.
And they've been home for 7 months. We need to do our best to get these kids in school. I agree, and I thank you all for standing up here and voicing your concerns tonight, and you are heard.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you,
I
Janessa.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Because of limitations, we must be out here fairly soon.
Well,
so we have the way we set these up is we actually have to have an hour between meetings to clean. We have a 7 o'clock meeting in here, so we're going to need to conclude.
And they also.
we took,
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Althea Chase. I reside at 71 Centennial Street. In regards to your surveys, I can tell you from experience working in the school and being a parent that it was overwhelming. Every time I turned around, I was getting a survey. The problem is you're sending out an email saying there's a survey enclosed in the body of the email. And I'll say to someone, hey, did you answer the survey? What survey? Well, it was in the email that you just got. Well, I didn't see where it said anything about a survey, because you have the little thing where it says survey, and it might be underlined in a different color, and they're not realizing that they have to click on that to get to the survey. So you really need to put out a broadcast, telephone broadcast, and say, hey, we're sending out an email of a survey, for a survey, to get the kids back to school, yes or no? And send out a survey just asking that question. Putting all this other rigmarole in it, they're like, I'm sick of surveys, I'm sick of these emails, so I'm not going to answer it, and they just hit delete. And I've been wanting to do that quite a few times, because I'm sick of getting them. We want our kids in school, that's it. Do something about it. Their fate is in your hands. That's why we elect you to represent us and our kids. That's why you're here. That's why teachers are supposed to be teaching. So let's get with it. Let's get our kids back in school. Let's get the plan. Let's get the solution and knock out this crap. We've already had one loss in our family from suicide just a few months ago, and we don't need any more. It's overwhelming, and we're tired. We're all tired, and our kids are tired. I don't want my son in front of the computer anymore. 6 hours a day? Doctors say 1 hour max, and they're in front of him for 6 hours. What good is that doing when they're failing? They don't want to be on the computer. They want to be in school. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn in a second. Thank you all very much for attending and for the wonderful feedback. Thank you.
I think she
First-
should be able to speak.
We still on the camera?
Hi, I'm Damali Ramos. I'm an 8th grade student at Seabrook Middle School, and I think we should be able to go back. It's affected my friends and my mental health so much, and I know people that I went to school with that in March, none of using substances, sneaking out. I know people that have gotten arrested. I've known people that have almost died from using substances that ended up in the hospital. I know people who have attempted suicide. It's so bad, and I never even thought some of these kids that I saw that did this stuff would ever do that. I know people that swore. I know somebody in my family who swore that they were never going to touch a substance because somebody's overdosed in our family. Somebody's died from it. It's a big thing in our family. Addiction is a big thing. And I know people in my family that because of quarantine and because of not being able to go to school have started using that. And it's just broken up our family. It's broken up other people's family. It's broken up friendships. It's just bad.
Sorry to hear that.
It's okay.
I thank you for having the courage to stand up and talk about that. I encourage anybody on the board to
Thank
have
you.
a conversation with these kids, because if you haven't, they're a wealth of information.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to adjourn.
I made the motion.
Jessica?
I
Sorry.
second. Okay.
Jen? Yes. Again, thank you everybody for showing up. And this is probably the largest attendance I've seen in 4 years of the residents in Seabrook at a school board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gonna vote, Rhonda?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.